The scene is set at the One-Eyed Dog bookstore. This day has greeted Jacob with an rather unpleasant mood, for the first information to come to him after he has had a drink from his favorite young ghoul and blood doll was that he should check the news. When he did, he was made aware of the fact that the haven of the Seneschal Iris Breckenridge had for some reason gone up in flame. He does not panic, although it's obvious to anybody who knew him, such as the woman at his side, that the information came across as quite a worry. Thus, when he picks up his phone and makes a call, he doesn't stumble with the digits or accidentally drop it in his urgency. The first call receives no response. This does worry him greatly, as from his time over at Iris's Haven, he knows that she typically awakens to the night before him. And so, focusing on an image of her in his mind, Jacob takes advantage of the power of presence and makes a summon towards Iris's person. 7 dice for charisma and subterfuge. Difficulty is 4, as he has successfully used it on her in the past. And we see how the dice gods treat us this day. 1 success. Because 1s cancel out 10s. Fortunately for the Seneschal, she won't be feeling any mad rush, but she will notice that inexorable pull and drag, an insistence in her mind for the rest of the night that she should really go talk to Mr. Crowley. It's not long before he receives a text message, and all it says is, "What the fuck?" Well, at least he knows that the Seneschal is apparently at her own phone, as who else would recognize the summons as even taking place? An angry clacking of digits sends a response to her, demanding her immediate attention. And when there is no further response for the time being, Jacob goes back about his business. He gets onto his motorcycle, leaves his haven, makes a visit by the One-Eyed Dog, for at this point in time it seems a good practice to check on the location every day. It will be perhaps 30 minutes after he's been within and settled in that the others would seem to come knocking at the Primogen of the Toreador's abode.
Jason Cadwell stands outside the structure, rather stiff and anxious, surprisingly. It was one of his first nights out on a town, and no less with a underproof associate of the Tremere clan. And was the one who knocked on the door and took a step back, exchanging glances with his fellow associate.
James is quite happy to be outside for a while. It's been some much needed refreshment. He's also quite anxious, even though his normal interests lie in technology. Books can always be so fascinating. I open the door.
Go ahead.
I ask Jason, are you ready to go inside?
Jason offers a faint shrug. Are you sure it's open? It is late, and he looks around for a open or closed sign, obviously, because, again, it is uncommon for stores to be open this late at night.
Well, according to the other apprentice I asked, it should be open. I knock on the door.
The knock on the door goes unanswered for about 15-30 seconds, but the door is pulled open, the ringing of a bell goes off, and one 5'8" blonde male, not quite handsome, but not really ugly either, gives them a smile, says, "Come on in. What can I help you with?"
Jason approaches the man with a friendly smile. He greets him with a faint nod. "Hello, we're interested in some of your exotic material." And he glances over to Smith for a moment and looks back at the man.
The blonde looks at them, blinks his eyes, but he seems to take it in stride. "Oh, exotic works. Well then, in that case, you might want to start all the way in the back. We usually keep the newer stuff in the front, attracts people, gets them to come in the door, take a look around. But if what you're really after is the older, the more, I guess, kind of hard to find, is what you're looking for?"
Absolutely.
He nods twice, flicks a hand over his shoulder. "You want to go that way? Once you go in past the cafe, just ignore all the shelves, go to the maze, and head basically all the way back. You'll find your way there eventually."
Jason raises his eyebrow at the instructions, but nonetheless gives the man an approving nod. "All right, thank you. We'll be on our way." With that, he takes his first steps forward and assumes that Smith would follow.
Even though James wants to kind of stride off on his own, he has been given permission to leave, that he's been taken under the wing of the fellow near apprentice, and he will follow Jason in that regard.
What they will see as they enter is, as was stated, a cafe, complete with a counter serving coffee, tea, sodas, all of the usual goods. There's even a setting for candy, fresh cakes, although how fresh they might actually be is debatable at 9 or 10 o'clock in the evening. Regardless, if they followed the instructions given and paid no mind to the college students and occasional wanderers in that area, a further investigation would reveal to the right that as they turn, they would see further to their right-hand side a set counter, a register, what is obviously the window to an office, although the shade is down behind it. Further on, to the left and to the right are more shelves, and then they would see what had been referred to as a maze, because in quite accurate description. The shelves were all turned inwards. They formed circle within circle within circle, only the occasional breaks between them allowing one to continue onwards. There were the occasional dead-end crooks where one wall met another, as one might expect. But the notable thing about it is every single available space was used for some manner of book or another. The further back they moved towards the wall, the older the materials would seem, but there would not be anything particularly amazing to stand out of a vampiric interest. Yet classic antiquities, the romances, the great poems and war strategies of the past would slowly begin to make themselves present. Perhaps what may be most noticeable is one man. He sits in the pure center of the maze. Should they make their way to him, they would notice the Egyptian male sitting there with his phone off to one side and a large encyclopedia open in front of him. He wouldn't seem to pay any attention to them unless they actually stepped into the area, though.
Jason would have taken his time going through the maze, not so quickly as to try to find his way out hastily. He actually took his time to inspect the material that was given there and see if anything that would pop out in interest to him. But undoubtedly, the male in the center would hold his most interest, and he looks over to Smith real swiftly and says, well, perhaps he could be of some service. So, without further ado, he makes his way to the center of this maze and gently taps his foot against the ground to catch the man's attention.
Jacob will blink his eyes, turn to look towards the two. He'll scour them with a quick look from head to toe and back again. He doesn't quite smile, but there's a hint of a welcoming smirk in his appearance. Good evening.
Good evening.
Jason offers a respectful nod of his head. Good evening to you. I was curious if you are intimate with this library here. We could use some assistance in acquiring some more rare ancient material.
I do know my way around. I've spent a good few days here looking through their collection. What do you mean by rare and antique? Something from the 50s, perhaps?
Jason looks over to Smith and gives him a welcoming smile. What exactly were you looking for, anyhow?
Something of ancient folklore, 1700 area. Very well first print. Something in the lines of that.
Jacob raises an eyebrow. He spends a moment staring at the two of them. While he does, he activates an Auspex ability, Aura Eyes. Unlike the summons from before, he doesn't have to spend a blood point for this. He merely need look upon the two and try to read them. Let's see. Perception and empathy, difficulty 8. Make sure real quickly that I have my dice correct on this. I always like to double check when I'm doing this particular one. I don't remember having that many dice. Ah, yes, because perception is only 3. There. That's better. So 6 dice. Difficulty 8. For some reason, while Jacob is looking at them, he just winces, rubs his temple. They don't know it, but all he could see when he looked at them was a kaleidoscope of colors. It was so vigorously electric that it hurt his eyes to keep looking at the two. So he quickly cancels the ability and resigns himself to more average methods of communication. Folklore in the 1700s, you say? Well, that's not difficult, although what sort of folklore often helps? There's things from all across the world, especially from just a few hundred years ago. What nationality are you all looking at?
Something European, if possible. Something Germanic.
European, Germanic, first edition. He pulls from his pocket a small book, flips open the scheduler, and with the miniature pen inside begins scribbling down notes on what he's being asked about. If you all want to try to roll perception and alertness to read what he's writing, you can.
I think
You all are
Jason
muted, by
will.
the way, so yes or no.
No, Jason will remain idle. He's more
Okay.
curious about the books.
So I'm not really interested in seeing exactly what is being written down.
Okay. Then he'll continue writing as he speaks. And first edition. Whew. So you're looking for some really old books.
That is correct.
I can look around, see who I know that might have something. I can tell you something that old doesn't come cheap. It's not easy to grab onto.
I understand.
Alright, well, if you're good with that, can I get a name, phone number, address, something I can reach you all by?
James gives him his address info, basically on where he is to reach, phone number, and an email address.
Jason also states his phone number and, of course, his name, but he also adds in on his comment. I would also like to look for something for me. I was looking for something more of the art of war, but I feel that's too cliche. Do you have anything material that relates to such that would be around that time period, or maybe a little bit later?
Jacob stops for a moment, starts erasing, and then rewrites. To answer your question, yeah. Well, The Art of War is a premier book on tactical strategy, but there are many, many others. I can't say so much from the same general area of time, but there are one or two from the same era, and of course there are some later versions from around the world. He seems to be pondering something as he goes on. When he finishes, he looks up at the two and smiles. If you're interested, you go out that side. Left, right, and then right again. And you'll hit a corner. That corner holds the older strategy books. And pretty much our collection insofar as what you can normally find. If you're looking for something like this gentleman in its first edition or anything like that, an original script, I'll need slightly more specific names or genres.
I'll just take a look and see what I can dig up. I'm sure you have a high quality selection there.
We try to. And he puts away the pen, closes the book, sets it back in his inner pocket of his small suit coat. Anything else I can do for you all while you're here?
James notifies it that the time is a bit of an essential frame for it. The faster it would turn up any results, the better.
All right. I'll see what I can do about that. I'll contact my employer and make sure he gets right on it. If not today, then sometime tomorrow. While he's speaking, the fact that the other gentleman mentions time being of the essence, he focuses on him again. Before, he had been just trying to generally read the auras of both of them. This time, he's focusing his attention just on that man. We'll see if his luck improves. The image is indiscernible. He doesn't gather anything particular, but he doesn't have the same piercing headache as before. He just seems to be alert, curious, waiting to see if there's anything else they have to say.
Jason inclines his head faintly, and he asks, "Oh, might we have your name, so we know who to address if you contact us?"
Certainly. Jacob.
All right, farewell, Jacob. If you don't mind, I think I might browse around through this library. You have such a massive collection. He takes a look around at the maze with a kind of self-satisfied smile. If you don't mind, that is.
Not at all. It's a bookstore. If you didn't look around and buy anything, I'm pretty sure our employer would have a fit.
Indeed. He lets out a slight smirk, but then he moves and begins to wander throughout the maze. Specifically, he heads towards the corner where it was suggested, and he would browse the material there, and he would try to find something that would be very unique, old, and possibly rare.
James will follow him as well, keeping him in an eyesight, and look around a bit as well. Not as being as interested in books as anything, as it's not meant to be technology, but still looking around to see if anything strikes his eye, catches his fancy.
There is nothing in particular that one might notice, at least not at first. It is the same kind of collection you would see, just a bit better off than your average Barnes & Nobles or other chain bookstore. Here and there you see a few things that, well, they stand out a bit, look just a bit mustier, older than the others, but there's nothing really ravishing about the collection. You have to really look. If you're particularly curious and you pull away some of the books to see what's stacked behind it, you would find some slightly older materials. They seem to be a bit more of the, how should one put it, the genuine article. Still nothing that would cost you more than $40 or $60 at the most, but it might give you an inclination or a suspicion that there's more to be had in the collection, depending on how one asks.
Jason would use his investigation skills to try and locate the source of more of this exotic material, and you'll have to help me with what I roll. I have four perception and
Let's see.
4 investigation.
Let's see. You are rolling d10s. And are you just looking at them to notice them, or are you looking, like, filing through the names and what have you?
He's looking through them, like digging behind the
Okay.
the ones in the back.
Yeah, then just perception investigation.
How do I roll d10?
What you do is you'll open up Dice Stream.
Mm-hmm.
Once you click it, it should pop up, and you should see minuses and pluses on the left and right side of each type of die. And in the center is the number. For us, it's the second one to the top in the right column that says 10. On the right-hand side, you'll click the plus until you put in as many dice as you have dots in those 2 abilities. So,
Well, I have the wrong dice string because I have 12, 8, 6, 20.
oh no, that's the right one.
Oh.
You're just going to use the 10s and only the 10s, because we only use d10s in VTM.
Okay, how many should I roll?
You had 4 dots in perception, so that's 4 dice. And then what was the other?
4 investigation.
Then you're going to roll 4 more dice.
Okay. That's not the right one.
You want to click the plus sign to the right of the 10. The number on the far right should change, and you're going for 8 dice.
Oh, I'm using something else. I had bones up. Okay. This
That
explains a lot.
explains it.
Okay. Let's do that. And one cancel out the highest one.
Yep.
And what was the difficulty?
For this, it's just a difficulty 6. There's nothing strenuous about it. You're just perusing behind the covers.
So he doesn't really exactly find anything noteworthy, though he does find some more of the more rare material, but nothing that would strike out as very unique.
Mm-hmm.
He frowns a little and not finding what he was looking for, but he does turn to Smith and give him more of a, not really desperate, but he is looking for his help here. If you mind, could you investigate and see what kind of books you can, or what kind of book you can find for me? Again, it's something to do with war and tactics. I mean, I imagine the prince would be into that, considering his clan. He does whisper that, but
Jacob, since you all have been back there for a while, Jacob is going to actually activate heightened senses and just listen around the corner. I'm going to make that DC 8. And just your average aspects, perception, alertness. So 5 dice. Success, fail. I got the 1 success, so it's not a total botch, but still, between hearing the rats scuffling in the back walls and somebody apparently pouring themselves a fresh cup of coffee out front, he doesn't make out a bloody thing. Just sighs in frustration, flips the next page of the encyclopedia as if anyone really sits there reading page by page in an encyclopedia, and waits to see if they come back around.
Well, James sees that Jason is looking around a bit discouraged. James inquires, "What's wrong? What's happening?"
Well, I'm a little pressed on time. I did agree to overwatch you and make sure that you wouldn't get in trouble with our adventures here. But I understand that I think you can handle yourself from this point. I need to see some pressing matters. So if I can trust you to remain here, and I will let you be on your own if you can help me find the gift that I'm looking for. Could you help me?
Well, I can sure give it a try. What exactly are you looking for?
As I said to the gentleman Jacob, I would get him a nice copy of The Art of War, but I feel like he would already have such. Therefore, if you could just find me something that would probably not match the material of Art of War, but would equally be, give or take 1,000 years of difference in regards to age. So, if you could find something for that for me, let's say I give you the rest of the night to do what you wish, and we'll meet up at the Chantry and arrive together. How does that sound?
Well, that sounds more than reasonable. James is going to help Jason, at least try to help look for what he is, see what he's looking for. So he will as well roll perception plus investigation for that. I only have 3 dots and 1, so that's 4. At what difficulty am I looking, Jacob?
Same difficulty, just 6. Also, your camera has vanished, so you'll need to turn that off and back on so your dice will display.
Did it appear?
Yep.
Oh, there you are, yes. And you got 1 success.
Yeah,
10 is cancelled out, but you get the 6.
Yeah, the 10 and the 1, how do I do that? Oh, oops. Like that. And that's right.
The 1 will cancel out the 10, but you did get the 6. So just like the other man, you have a moment to look around, and again, you get the impression that there's a bit more there than what you're seeing. If you want, through sheer stubbornness, to try again, you can roll again. The difficulty will be 7.
Well, Jason will eagerly take up to that offer. He again joins in the effort to search for the mysterious book of destiny, and he will roll perception and investigation.
With that sort of roll, it's safe to say that once you've dug around in the back and you've taken a good moment to examine, you definitely find something. It's older. It's not musty per se, but it carries a certain weight of years to it. When you blow off the cover, there's enough dust there that displays that while it looks as if it's been there a while, no one's really bothered with it. In fact, they might have been trying to hide it so that others didn't pick it up. If you have a book in particular that you want that to be, you can grab a title. Otherwise, I'll just try to find something at random.
I will likewise do the same. Oh, you'll have to help me pronounce this one, but this one looks good enough.
All right, go ahead.
Kyoto
and
Guntan. It's about Japanese.
Might be Guken.
Guken.
Goyo Gunkan, I think. I'm not familiar speaking Japanese.
Oh, apologies. Not Japanese, Chinese.
Noted.
No. They use Chinese weapons, but it's in Japan. Very well. I'm afraid I do have to dip out of here very quickly. So how do you want
Regardless
to?
of regardless found that, and let's see. Roll your intelligence and your intelligence.
You dropped out there, Jacob.
Oh, we lost them.